Coaches, how do you improve the communication of your athletes in a game situation? Like when the pressure's on, who's going to do the communicating? Who's going to accept that and take action moving forward? That's the topic of episode 7 of the Don't Tell Me, Show Me podcast. Okay, episode 7 of the Don't Tell Me, Show Me podcast. Mark, you've had a great question from a coach that you support that takes us back to episode 3, which is about growing player autonomy, eliminating the gray within a coaching environment. So can you share the question and then we'll bounce off it?
Yeah, so it's Coach McNabb, who's one of the very experienced coaches and players from Edinburgh Hockey Club. So we're working off season at the moment. So the coaches either have a focus each week, either listen to one of these episodes or they're in my members area and they watch one of the resources, share reflections in the group. So she listened to that episode, and one of the questions she had was the 3A's element, which for people that haven't listened to that, go back and listen to it. But just as a refresh, is we're talking about how can develop athletes that can communicate effectively live to each other on the pitch, on the court, wherever that may be. So we were talking about communication isn't just I've said the right thing to somebody. It's I'm the one receiving it. How do I call it the 3A's? Internally accept it, acknowledge it by a voice or a thumb up, whatever's been pre-agreed, and then act on it, the commitment of action. So that could be a technical, it could be a tactical, often it's tactical on the big picture. So where the coach's question is two main elements. What if the player that's saying something on the pitch, on the court, is incorrect, and the person that's receiving it believes it's incorrect, or it's correct but the person believes it's incorrect, and are they actually internally accepting it, or are they just pushing it away in those moments? So how do we manage that as a coach? Because obviously practice is about preparing them for matches, and in matches we want people communicating effectively and acting on the information that should be effective information based on the situation, but people actually acting on that information.
Yeah, that's a really great point. And we've touched on briefly before, it's all very well being player-centered, but and handing over the reins to the players. But if they're coaching each other, that sounds great in utopia. But if what they're actually doing and coaching with each other is not what you need it to be, or it's just you've gone from being coach-centered to being captain-centered, let's call it, you're not really shifting the dial at all. So it's a really great challenge. I wonder if I can accept the point you're making to me. I can acknowledge it, but then my action is to tell you that you're wrong. What do you think?
Well, the action would be in the physical of movement.
Yeah.
So you'd be doing something else or still doing the same again. So I guess part of that would be based on what you've just said there is somebody might ignore, somebody might just put a thumb up and do nothing with it. So internally, they're actually not accepting it. But they're just, I've got to acknowledge, so I will, but I'm not going to do anything with it. Or you end up with a disagreement. And there could be many variables why we've got disagreement. But the framework is for me anyway, part of great coaching is to figure out who on the pitch, on the court, wherever it may be, who knows what based on their role and the role around them based on the situation, and who's reading the game correctly, and who's providing effective information, or who is believing they are, but their information they're sharing or self-reflecting on is incorrect. So as a coach, we need to put players in situations where we can identify the baseline meaning reality. Once we have the reality, we've got the action review process where we can spot where is the source of this error. Is it a basics of principle point? Is it a scanning point? Is it a state all caught up point? Or is it the influencer point of actually, yes, that would look good on a whiteboard, but the situation, there's influences that would mean that would not be an option. So it's spotting it and then putting interventions in. Now, I've developed phases of practice. So you have a learn it phase, a perform it, and a challenge it. So in essence, before we go into one of those phases, we're sharing with the athletes, and you could be in all of them in one session or just one of them for a whole session. But the learn it phase is we can't do it yet. So we're setting that as a parameter. So the success is based on committing things we can't yet do, whether that's a technical or a tactical combination. In those moments, part of that is to figure out who knows what, whose beliefs, knowledge is incorrect, where are the gaps, and then start to enhance the gaps, spot the source and enhance them. And that part of that learn it phase should be that, not just can they do this drill, can they do this play, can they receive and pass a ball. So there's that fundamental software element as well. In that phase, you should be identifying who are the players that have the right knowledge but are quite silent, but I want them to be more vocal because they're very good at reading the game. And who are the people that are very vocal, but they're sharing incorrect information, or it's still problem-based, or how they're not looking at the big picture of effectiveness, all those variables. So once we start spotting that, we start to put the interventions in. So by the time we get to perform it phase, and that means we're showing we can do it now, we're in full game, and you can do half pitch, half court, but basically it's at full speed, opposition's going all over the place. And we're looking for now as the learning that we've got to now in competency in that learn it phase, can that be transferred now in perform it phase when we're not just talking about that moment, when we've got that connection in. In those moments, that's when we're scanning for, are those people now we believe they are reading the game right and sharing the right information? Are they still doing it now? Now there's a score line involved. Now there's different pressures. Are they still connecting them? But the important element, Simon, and I may have done this back to front, is we've got to explicitly share to people, look, we are now exploring. So the only way we can explore is we've got to do the full circle. And what I mean by that is if a player is now saying, move wider or go earlier or adjusting a tactic, let's commit to it. Let's follow the 3 A's. Then we've got an opportunity to review it. So we can all learn from that. So what will be unacceptable in these moments is for us to disagree on the pitch in these moments. Now, you may as a coach say, for these situations in the tactical, Sarah, Sheila, John, you are the people in that part of the pitch position. You're the people that can make the calls on the tactical.
Yeah.
So then we're down to technical, where we're saying we all want to support each other technically, but make sure you're sharing the right information if someone's struggling. But first of all, if you believe you've done something exceptionally well, let people know because you want to do that again. But if you feel you went a bit early, a bit late, or you didn't turn your hips on that technical element, share with the teammates around you, right, next time I'm doing this. So then they go, great, I don't have to share anything with you. But then if it's wrong, then it's making sure, am I supporting you now by giving you decent information? And that's going back to the coach scanning and saying, do I need to filter this? Where we go, let's just share this at this moment. But I'm scanning for who is sharing the right information and who is not. But also I'm sharing for then, if someone's sharing information with you, are you following the 3 A's? Because we need to develop that as a skill. So we have that when we move in the perform it phase, and the challenge it phase is now my cap is switch, and I'm attempting to break down what we're successful in. So I'm almost like an opposition coach then. I'm seeing where is a weak link, where's the brittle part? How can I break it down? I'm going to put pressure on you. I'm going to whisper to the opposition, do certain things. I'm going to see how robust we actually are, spot where the kinks are, spot where the source of the issues is. I may go back and perform it or learn it to see where they are. So for me, learn it phase is very much part of developing that awareness of strengths, weaknesses in how people are concluding and reading technical and tactical, given the permissions, but also developing people to say, look, you've got to go for it on the 3 A's. And once we've gone for it, we can review it, but don't have a disagreement or push it off because we're not going to learn anything from that. You're going to have 2 players still disagreeing at the end going, well, I thought you were wrong. No, I thought you were wrong. But we haven't done it. So we've got nothing to review.
Okay. So what I'm understanding here is that the 3 A's needs a bit of context. When you want to double click on it, it needs a bit of context. So that context can be about when and who. So when is what phase of our development, what phase of our growth or learning are we in? Are we in learn it, perform it, or challenge it? And then within that, who is the one giving the information? Is it somebody who has been pre-agreed by everybody, or at least endorsed by the coach as a source of knowledge in this particular, let's say, tactical aspect, because during the learn it phase, the coach identified which athletes could had that knowledge and that communication skills. So it depends a lot on who's saying it and when they're saying it. So what's interesting there is some of your concepts, like the 3As, they sound great, but without context, they're much harder to apply, or you can get it wrong if you don't understand context. And so it's overlapping concepts is where you start to get some power. This is why coaching can be so difficult, because there's so many different models, so many different ways. I mean, and human interactions are coming at you really, really fast, much faster than the workplace. When you're in practice, and if we put a big clock on the wall in the workplace, and said we got 90 minutes to get this, then the communication would change, completely. And that's good. Sport puts you under that kind of pressure. So I'm really interested in that context of who, when. I wonder if you've got some examples. Like I'm thinking of rugby and like leadership groups, or is it position specific?
It has to be position specific. This is where leadership groups in this context can often not be helpful unless you've deliberately selected your leadership group for positional parts on the pitch, even in rotation of play. So I know I've got someone in that position. So then it's questioning, which will be a whole new podcast, Simon, is what is leadership and what are influencers, which for me are quite different. There's layers to it. So what we want to be is everyone needs to be an influencer, but what scope of permission and how far your influence can go. So everyone can give a player next to them a pat on the back. I see that as a once removed rule of who is around you that you can have an effective impact with. So the effective impact might in the software go again, you've got this. Well, everyone can do that. When we start to get into the technical element, I just need to know, do I know me? Because I need to self-review me. So we need to put work in there. And then of others, if I'm seeing something that's very obvious, that's based on, the knowledge I have that they're getting wrong, they're concluding wrong, they don't have the solution. How can I help them with the solution in that moment? That's why that learn it phase is so important, because it's finding out, is exploring, is the knowledge correct, linked into what we're seeing ahead of us in choice, but how we're self-reviewing live in that moment, whether that's technical, next time I'm doing this, if it's a tactical, right, keep doing it again, they got through, but it was the right choice. It's that learning process. So for me, it's making sure positionally, who have you got on the pitch in the court that can do that once removed beyond just the software of you've got this, let's go again. We've got, the hand touch, the connection in. Who's got the knowledge of technical and tactical that can just help that person when they're struggling? And also then who are the people that have the permission to make the tactical calls live, make the big moves? We go earlier, close that on the right, whatever that may be, that the coach is given permission to say, you can make those subtle calls. Because that, if it's a call that needs to be a combination adjustment, you need certain people that have permission that can make those calls. It may not be the hierarchical captain, because he may be, at the front, he might be a defender, he may not be around. So it's looking at it like that. Positionally, who are the people that I know now have the confidence and competence to see and make the right choice in either reflection to help someone once removed or the big picture tactically. And I see them as two separate elements.
Yeah, I mean, this question's come from a hockey coach. So in that context, is similar to football, soccer, is maybe a central defender because they can see the entire pitch. They're all essentially always looking for the most part, they're looking forwards. They don't look forwards and backwards. So they can see the whole pitch. In basketball might be a point guard. American football is obviously quarterbacks. Rugby's got your first five and all of that. But it makes an interesting connection to selection. So if I've got a hockey team and I've got two central defenders, I've got to consider obviously their ability to tackle, intervene, intercept, etc. But I need to know who's got the tactical understanding and the communication skills to convey that to the rest of the team, because they can then improve the combinations between all the other players, provided those players are applying something like the 3As when they receive that information.
Yeah.
So again, we're just the complexity and the intertwined intertwine the interconnections between all these different concepts. And like this again, this is why coaching is so difficult, because you're now introducing a new dimension to selection, and that's your idea of capability combinations. Can you double click on that? I don't want to digress, but like
Yeah.
that's a really powerful concept.
So in essence, if you're a coach, when you're selecting your teams, you select obviously who are the people going on the pitch or the court first, based on the rotation of injuries or whatever it is. But your capability combination is, I know I've tested this in practice, and I know this combination of players are robust and effective. They can work together, they can understand each other's reads, they communicate effectively, make the adaptations live, and they have obviously the competency strengths as individuals, but the capability is them. So what we were saying was, you may have that and there may be give it a 10 score, there may be a 10. But then I have a substitute and I put one person out and one person in. That combination capability may drop down to a 6 because of one person is impacting the combination capability. So it's separate to the individual. When coaches can start looking at this, one is, we need to, if I'm thinking, well, actually, this is a combination that it may be a substitute rotation of one or two players that is going to come round potentially in this next match. I need to, in practice, put them in high pressure situations in practice of those players so they can learn to read each other and start to get to know each other. And then I can start to spot, is there a source of a breakdown? Going back to an example in hockey, that is quite common is where you've got that midfield that can go up high onto the pitch or defend high, that movement pattern. You may have somebody that's moving too early to go up the pitch and leaving a big gap for defense. Defense then doesn't want to close the gap because that leaves an opening behind them. So you would develop who's reading it and learn it phase. That person at the back, you're going, right, you need to call the midfielder, say, no, wait. Okay, now go. But what's important is that person is reading the game effectively. But the people in that midfield, even if they feel, no, I need to go, actually honor the 3 A's on that person. Go, no, I'm waiting because Julie has got that role. So if Julie's saying, I've got to commit as a combination, as opposed to, no, I'm still going to stay, and all of a sudden there's a big gap because they're looking, no, I think I need to go. I don't think they're going to cover that corner, whatever it may be, that wing. So this is that point of develop it, identify who's right and wrong, then start selecting, right, you can make those type of calls. But if you're hearing it, I need to see the 3 A's, let's play it out. So you will have players, even in a match, will ignore that and they'll still go, well, no, it didn't work because they didn't do this. I had to go here. So that's when we need to sit down with the video and say, okay, this is what I saw from the sideline. Remind me what we agreed in the way we play. Remind me who makes the calls. Okay, what call did you hear? Because I definitely heard it from the sideline. Okay, what did you do with that? Did you 3 A's? No, why not? Well, I didn't think it was right. What did we agree? Let's play the video out now. So then they say, I can see now. I didn't see that at the time. So then you have a pre-agreement. Okay, if this happens again, what are you going to do differently? So that player now says, okay, now there's learning from me. If that happens again, I'm going to honor the call from behind me because that's my best chance of success. Even if I don't agree with it at the time, they're seeing something I don't see. You have the confidence to know they can make the right call. I'm going to honor it. Great. Closure, bang, and then we're searching for it, which is quite different from having a disagreement, even showing a video to somebody and saying, okay, and not having that, okay, so what are we going to agree next time? Yeah. So that's where the 3 A's is so important, because if we're spotting there's a barrier, we've got to understand, why is there the barrier? Is it a belief thing that person's making the wrong call? Are you seeing something different? Okay, let's play it out. That's the beauty of the safe space in practice. But once we get to a point where there's a disagreement, we as a coach have to step in and go, well, this is the style of play we're making. If you do this, this is what's happening behind you or to the left and the right. So that doesn't work in how we're working. So these are the people I'm on the pitch that will make the calls. Your role is, when you hear the call, commit to it 100%. And that's where the 3 A's comes in. Then we can learn and review from it and put that in practice. So it's back to the learn it phase is spotting. who's making the right decisions, but saying to everyone, if you're hearing it, go for it. You follow the 3 A's, because then we've got something we can review. And then figuring out, okay, there's a knowledge or understanding issue here, there's a scanning issue here, whatever it is, put the intervention in, build it up. And then you get to a point where you're still going to spot those people to say, right, for the big picture tactical calls, for that manipulation of space, of movement and timing, you are the people that can make those calls, because I know you're going to read the game under pressure and make the right call. If you hear that person saying it to you, you've got to 3A's it.
Yeah.
But for the micro want to remove, that's that little bit, someone's struggling, they're going a bit early, and that's why they're getting caught out. They're not recognizing it. They're reviewing it wrong. That person wants to remove, needs to have that confidence, and that's why we build it in practice. Say, hey, just wait half a second. That's going to stop them running around the side of you. Just wait a bit longer. And then that person tries, okay, let me go for that in those moments. Yeah. So that's where the trust is built, Simon, in those layers in practice.
Yeah. And that's where session design comes in, activity design. So when you're at the perform it or especially the challenge it phase, that's where those kind of scenarios is where I like the constraints-led approach. I don't necessarily use it in all other phases, but I can imagine in that challenge it phase, it's really useful because you can manipulate the constraints to put the athletes in various different scenarios, which tests whether or not your capability combination is able to solve that problem. And then you can go bang, bang, bang and give them a different problem. You can change the problem almost constantly. For example, on a basketball court, you can change the space. So I could be the corner of the court. So if I'm on the right edge and I move in with my arms out, you can't go past me. I'm basically out of bounds now. And so I'm changing the space in which the athletes are playing. So I'm challenging them to solve a different problem all the time. And then every possession I can move to a different space. So that change is constantly happening. So the constraints-led approach could really work in that challenge it phase. And I'm imagining specific players as well and thinking through, or how can specific players, if I give them more opportunity, how can they impact the performance of others? And you see it in various sports. I mean, in football at the moment, there's Jordan Henderson's being recalled to the England team. He's mid-30s or something. He's past it. He's not as quick as he used to be or whatever. But I would imagine he enables the performance of others, and because of his experience in the game, other people are going to probably follow the 3A's when he says something. In basketball, you've got Chelsea Gray and you've got Chris Paul and Kevin Garnett. In rugby, you've got any number of kind of talkative halfbacks. And
look at George Ford's just got his 100th cap for England. When he's on the pitch, he's a great reader of the game. But also, when he shares data, it's meaningful, few words, but impactful. So it's easier for people under pressure to relate and understand. And going back to the perform it, challenge it phase, for anyone listening, important to understand, and I go through it a lot more detail in the members area, but the challenge it phase is literally you are no longer the coach that is searching for success. You are now the coach that is attempting to find the gaps. Where's the breakdown? Where are the weak links? So this is where in perform it phase, you may well overtly say, right, let's see if I'm going to test your defense on the wing now. Okay. So they're ready for it to go, right. Okay. In that challenge it phase, they don't know what's coming because what we want to do is literally play. And now it may be you've got oppositions and make sure we put strength against strength. So put a high competency attacker against a defender or someone they don't like playing against. Let's match them up. You might have someone to go, right, how can you get past this team? And they might come up with a strategy, whisper it so the opposition can't hear in practice, show me. Or it may be you as a coach is now manipulating the situation, go, right, I want you to do this. When this comes in, do this. And then obviously you've got the umpire, referee calls, etc. How I know where the weak link with that athlete is. How can I get in their head? Well, in challenge it phase, guess what? That's what you want to do. Because in learn it performance phase, they know that's one of their work on. So say compose when things aren't going well or someone's roughing them up. Do I still hold my ground still, or do I start getting frustrated or giving or start fouling out? Okay, well, that's a work on. Great, it's progressing. In the challenges phase, I'm testing that right now. but I'm not telling you I am. That's where we go and learn it performance phase.
Yeah, I occasionally, particularly in the end of our seasons, I'll referee a scrimmage game in practice, and I'll deliberately referee it badly. Not telling them in advance. And the players, the better, the more composed ones figure it out quickly. But there's so many little examples of ways that you can manipulate, a particular playing situation through your different practice design, through your different, coach behaviors. That doesn't have to be learning some fancy drill on YouTube. It's all about those kind of subtle interventions. But again, it comes back to what phase are you in? So because that influences what outcome you're looking for. Yeah,
and making sure based on that need-centered approaches, only intervene and put these initiatives in if there's a need to. So if you're watching your matches, not just one match over time, and you're spotting players are disagreeing when they should be honoring the call and going for it, that disagreement, that pausing or that silently not actioning is giving the opposition an advantage. Well, if that's an element that you go, we need to get better at this, then that needs to be a success criteria, overtly shared with the team. The why, okay, this is why we're going to put this intervention in. Let's share what the 3A's mean, what impact it's going to give us, right? So let's agree what that looks like in this phase. Let's show it, let's commit. In the challenge it phase, when we get there, I'm still scanning for who are the people now when things aren't going well, are still honoring the 3A's. I'm also looking for who's making the right calls. Of course, what's the wording they're using? Is it the wording we've pre-agreed? Are they chucking new stuff in that we've never tested before in performance or learn it? So same as coaches, are you chucking stuff in a match that we've never been successful for in a challenge it phase, but now you're seeing the match and you're throwing it in? In the women's football at the moment, the championship that's on, there was an interesting part. I don't think it was in the knockout stages early on, and I can't remember which team it was. It might have been Germany. But the coach sent a bit of paper on with something written on it. And that got passed around to all the players on the pitch. This is while the ball was out. And then the opposition, it may have been England actually, were trying to look at the bit of paper. Now, I don't know if they could even read German.
Yeah.
Two things jumped at me straight away then. The second one is probably not the reality, but it was like, is the coach so cunning? My second one. But the first one was, is this an example of a coach not embedding things in practice, not testing them, and putting a code name on it if there's an intervention switch they want them to do, but seeing something in a match that in that coach's head, oh, let me share a solution, and then literally writing on a bit of paper and sharing it with the team, right, read this and see if you can do this. And they're like, oh, okay. Oh my God, we've never done this before. And this bit of paper's going around, which I'm guessing is probably what happened, or a nuance of it. The second one where I thought, or is this coach so cunning that she's overtly written it in English? And they've already prepped to say, share this round, whatever it says, we're going to do the opposite, and make sure the opposition reads it.
Yeah.
Play a picture of something they can read.
Yeah, maybe it's a play for penalties.
Yeah, or just catch the opposition out, think, oh, they're going to do this, and immediately do the opposite. And I thought that's probably not what's happened here. No, but that's an example of, if we want 3A's to be effective, we need to set an environment up where when they're hearing information, they know they're going to honor that information. So this is where that learn it performance phase, we're cultivating that. We're seeing where the barriers are. We're upskilling whether it's in a decision that's being shared is inaccurate. Who's sharing it, permissions, build the competence. But then if you're hearing it, your reaction to hearing it in that moment with speed and enthusiasm. And I'm looking for both of them. I cultivate them in the learn it phase. I build it in the performance phase, and I'm checking and challenging it in that challenge it phase to make sure we are more successful when we get into competition.
Well, Mark, you've just summarized those three phases really well. That's a great way to end, building on the concept of the 3A's, accepting, acknowledging, and acting. So thanks very much for joining me, as always. This episode's going out Thursday the 24th. The following week, next Thursday, we are guaranteed to have Alan Keane in for his European Championships debrief. He's managed to dodge us a couple of times, albeit flight at 2 a.m. in the morning, so I think we'll probably let him away with that one.
Wow.
He'll be with us next week. But we've got something we can build on here around more around session design and activity design. How do you design a session that has some balance of learn it, perform it, challenge it? Does that balance change at different times of the season when you've got different outcomes you're trying to achieve? And then how do you design activities within each of those phases? So there's definitely something we can double click on for another episode. For now,
And for anyone listening, we want to get out to more people. So we're seeing people are listening to this. Please at least do a like, but put a comment, put your takeaway down underneath this in the YouTube. But importantly, if you have a question that's come from the listening to this or any other chapter, drop the question in. Just share who you are, what sport it is, context, and ask the question, because those are the questions we can make into one of these conversations. So be positively selfish, but please interact down there. It's going to help us adapt the conversation, but also it's going to help us make sure we're sharing information that's useful to you, the listeners.
great. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.